Namaskar and welcome to Midday Prime. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and on the show this afternoon we take a closer look at health sector allocations and how Atmanirbhar vision of Prime Minister Modi has been the mainstay of the budget this time around. We will talk about the critical outlays in critical sectors. We'll also keep an eye on parliamentary proceedings today. Remember, Rajya Sabha has been disrupted by the opposition by staging a walkout. We get you the latest also on Myanmar coup with former envoy, former ambassador joining us on the show. While the Indian government has, remember, just come out with an advisory for Indian citizens in Myanmar to avoid any sort of travel to Myanmar and take necessary precautions in the wake of recent developments. We will talk about it. We will also get you a special feature on the World's Wetlands Day, which is celebrated today globally. But first up on Midday Prime, here are the headlines. Centre disputes two high-level multidisciplinary teams to Kerala and Maharashtra to collaborate with state health authorities in COVID prevention and management. The two states constitute 70% of the active cases. Recovery rate in the country crosses 97%. Over 39.5 lakh healthcare workers are vaccinated till yesterday. Rajya Sabha adjourned till tomorrow due to continuous interruption by the opposition on farmers' issues. No proposed legislative businesses could be taken up due to the opposition-created ruckus. Lok Sabha to take up motion of thanks to the President's address. Markets rise sharply on the second consecutive day over positive post-budget sentiment. Sensex jumps 1,300 points at the opening, touching whopping 50,000 mark, while Nifty jumps 300 points. In other news, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh inaugurates the second assembly line of the 4th Gen light combat aircraft in Bengaluru, as asserts that it will strengthen self-reliance in defence manufacturing. Says India cannot remain dependent on other countries for its defence requirements. World Wetland Day today being observed across the world with the theme of wetlands and water. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar highlights India's achievements in the protection of wetlands, showing government's commitment in environment conservation. And Myanmar Army announces a major cabinet reshuffle after seizing power. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi remains in detention. India issues advisory for Indian citizens in Myanmar to take due precautions. UN Security Council to hold emergency meeting today. And let's begin the Midday Prime with the big news we are tracking at this hour. Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry has decided to depute two high-level multidisciplinary teams to Kerala and Maharashtra to collaborate with the state health authorities in instituting public health measures for COVID-19 management. Now, the central teams to Maharashtra, they comprise of experts drawn from National Centre for Disease Control and Dr. RML Hospital in National Capital. The Kerala team shall comprise of the senior official from Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, along with experts from Regional Office of Health and Family Welfare, Thiruvananthapuram and Lady Hardinge Medical College, New Delhi. These teams shall work very closely with the state health departments, take a stock on ground situation and recommend necessary public health interventions to contain the large number of cases being reported by these states. Now, at a time when almost all states and union territories are showing a declining trend in number of cases and deaths due to COVID-19, Kerala and Maharashtra, they continue to report large number of cases. At present, these two states alone are contributing to almost 70% active COVID-19 cases in the country. Meanwhile, talking about Maharashtra, the State Health Minister Rajesh Tope assured all support and coordination with the centre, saying that it's part of a protocol set up by the centre to fight with COVID. Let me quickly go across to my colleague Shishir joining us live from Mumbai to tell us more about these teams that have been dispatched to two states, Mumbai, Maharashtra and Kerala. First of all, just give us an overview, Shishir. This is a big step by centre in order to strengthen the existing mechanism in place to contain COVID. But what could be the reasons while the other states are consistently showing a declining trend, but Maharashtra is still lagging behind. Shishir? Shishir, can you hear me? Shishir, can you get the studio, please? Can we go across to our correspondent in Kerala? Meanwhile, we can try and once again reconnect with Shishir. I think due to some audio snag, he's not able to hear us. Let's go back to Shishir in a while. Meanwhile, let's shift our focus to parliamentary proceedings today. Rajya Sabha proceedings today morning were disrupted on the third day of the budget session this morning. The opposition created ruckus in the upper house over farm laws. Opposition staged a walkout from Rajya Sabha over the rejection of suspension of business notices. Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Venkaiah Naidu, adjourned the House first till 11:30 a.m. today after reconvening at 10:30 a.m. Also later on, amid continued disruptions by the opposition, the House was adjourned till 9 a.m. tomorrow. Well, 4 important legislations are on the agenda of the upper house today. The Major Port Authorities Bill, the National Institutes of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management Bill, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Bill and the National Commission for Allied and Healthcare Provisions Bill will be discussed in the upper house today. The lower house will be taking up the motion of thanks on the President's address today. And let's quickly go across to Vishal Barista joining us from outside Parliament. Vishal, first of all, a quick one on the Rajya Sabha proceedings which were truncated by unnecessary ruckus created by the opposition, although there were 4 important bills that were to be deliberated today in upper house. What more can you tell us?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Sakal. After adjournment after the ruckus for 4 times, the upper house has been adjourned till 9 a.m. tomorrow. So no more proceedings in the upper house. The lower house assembles at 4 p.m. And today the motion of thanks would be moved by BJP MP Loket Chatterjee. So we are also expecting a heated discussion in the lower house, because in the upper house the opposition had moved a motion under Rule 267 asking for suspension of business so that the repealing of 4 farm laws could be discussed, to which the chairman of the Rajya Sabha did not agree, and he said that the president had made a mention about the farmers in his speech, so that would be discussed when the motion of thanks is moved, but the opposition did not accept it. And along with Congress, TMC, DMK and other parties, they repeatedly disturbed the House, after which the chairman had to adjourn the House till 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Quick one on the Lok Sabha also today. Very important day because the motion of thanks on presidential address will be taken up today.
Well, absolutely, it is going to be a very, very important day. Yesterday, we saw how the budget was presented, and on Friday, you heard the president's speech and how the country is doing so well under Modi government, and that was the highlight of his speech, especially our victory against COVID-19 and help to our neighbors, especially in the subcontinent. So these were the highlights. And also, if you remember that Prime Minister also said that he was not, he was very hurt the way the tricolor was disrespected on the 26th January. So these are the issues that could come up, because opposition is eyeing these issues, especially the farm issues. They did not allow the upper house to function, and it would be very interesting as to what is their attitude, because they did not attend, most of them did not attend, I beg your pardon, the joint session that was there when the president's address was there. So it is going to be a hectic session house in the lower house also. All
right, Vishal Baristo, many thanks for joining us from outside Parliament to give us an overview how the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, have progressed since morning. Of course, Rajya Sabha being adjourned till 9 a.m. And now let's go back to our top story. I believe Shishir is with us to give us more inputs on the central team that has been dispatched to two states, particularly Shishir, Kerala and Maharashtra. These two states continue to have an upward trend when it comes to still COVID cases going up, whereas the other states continuously are showing declining trend. Very quickly on Maharashtra. So basically, it's a big move from the center to bolster the existing mechanisms put in place to contain the COVID-19 situation, especially during the first phase of vaccination, which is underway.
Well, absolutely, Sakal. Looking at this number in Maharashtra, especially, those numbers have been fluctuating here. But if you read those numbers, the numbers have actually reduced quite well, because just a couple of months back, Maharashtra used to register almost 20,000 or plus 20,000 cases every day here. But now the number has reduced to almost 2,000.
Okay, we apologize for that audio snag there with Shishir. We'll try and take Shishir later in our bulletin to get you a quick perspective on that. And now on Midday Prime, let's now move on to our developing story of the afternoon. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has termed the Union Budget for 2021-22 one which not only builds the confidence of the people in the unprecedented pandemic hit circumstances, but also has the farmer and India's villages in its heart. Now, to boost the healthcare sector during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and also to augment the future health infrastructure, a new central healthcare scheme, Atmanirbhar Health Yojana, has been announced this time around, and the Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana will operate in addition to already existing National Health Mission, which has been allocated around 64,180 crore over the next 6 years.
वर्ष 2021 का बजट असाधारण परिस्थितियों के बीच पेश किया गया है। इसमें यथार्थ का एहसास भी और विकास का विश्वास भी है। कोरोना ने दुनिया में जो प्रभाव पैदा किया, उसने पूरी मानव जाति को हिलाकर रख दिया है। इन परिस्थितियों के बीच आज का बजट भारत के आत्मविश्वास को उजागर करने वाला है।
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also presented the budget with major focus on health yesterday. New schemes like Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana were announced for capacity building in health sector. We have more in this report.
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's budget proposals had a deep imprint of the impact that COVID-19 pandemic had on the nation's economy and particularly on the public health system. Starting her budget speech with a narration of the fight against COVID-19, the Finance Minister strongly positioned health and well-being as one of the 6 crucial pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Underscoring the significant importance of health and well-being for the growth and development of the country, the budget allocation for the same has been increased to 2,23,846 crore rupees in budget estimates 21-22 as against the budget estimate of 2020-2021 of 94,452 crore rupees. This manifests into a sharp increase of 137%.
The investment on health infrastructure in this budget has increased substantially. Progressively, as institutions absorb more, we shall commit more. Taking a holistic approach to health, we focus on strengthening 3 areas: preventive, curative, and well-being.
A new centrally sponsored scheme, Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana, will be launched with an outlay of 64,180 crore rupees over 6 years. The main interventions are setting up of integrated public health labs in all districts and 3,382 block public health units in 11 states, establishing critical care hospital blocks in 602 districts and 12 central institutions, operationalization of 17 new public health units and strengthening 33 existing public health units at points of entry, setting up of 15 health emergency operation centers and 2 mobile hospitals, setting up of a National Institution for One Health, a regional research platform for World Health Organization Southeast Asia region, 9 biosafety level 3 laboratories and 4 regional national institutes of virology.
New centrally sponsored scheme, PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana, will be launched with an outlay of about 64,180 crores over 6 years. This will develop capacities of primary, secondary and tertiary care health systems, strengthen existing national institutions and create new institutions to cater to detection and cure of new and emerging diseases. This will be in addition to the National Health Mission.
Development of COVID-19 vaccines also found a pride of place in the union budget.
I have provided 35,000 crores of rupees for COVID-19 vaccine in this year 21-22. I am committed to provide further funds if required.
In addition, the pneumococcal vaccine will be rolled out across the nation. The National Nursing and Midwifery Commission Bill will be introduced by the government for passing. The union budget has proposed merger of the Supplementary Nutrition Program and the Poshan Abhiyan. These will form the umbrella of Mission Poshan 2.0. Another noticeable thing is the phenomenal increase in the allocation for the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation. Its annual budget allocation has been increased more than twice, from 21,518 crore rupees in budget estimates of 2020-21 to 60,030 crore rupees in the budget estimates of 2021-2022. The budget has gone into the all aspects that demanded attention and funds, and the proposals will prepare the foundation of a healthy and fit India. DD India.
And now let's take a look at the detailed explainer on some critical allocations. Basically, how Atmanirbhar Bharat vision of Prime Minister Modi is the mainstay of this budget around. Now, first up, we're going to talk about the budget profiling inflow. What is inflow and outflow? Basically, these are key concepts in managing finances. That is inflow versus outflow. It's a comparative analysis which basically determines the health of economy. Now, essentially, inflow is all the money you receive or generate, while outflow is all the money basically what you spend. Now, first up, let's quickly talk about the inflow. These are the numbers when it comes under different verticals like capital receipts, gross tax revenue, net tax receipts, state share of taxes in these budgets, and non-tax revenue to the tune of 2.43 lakh crore. Moving on now to the next slide of outflow. Let's quickly talk about the outflow, how the outflow outlook is looking this time around. On scheme expenditure, 14.33 lakh crore has been spent. This much on the central sector schemes. The government has spent money, is wanting to spend money. Centrally sponsored schemes to the tune of 3.81 lakh crores. Transfers to the states to the tune of 4.29, and also transfers, establishment and other expenses. These are the numbers. That's the overall budget size, and other central expenses. Inflow, outflow. Now let's move on to the other slide, which talks about important now, Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana. So Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana aims at boosting health infrastructure. And if we take a look at the 2021 budget book, this is the allocation for the healthcare sector. The budget, which allocates rupees 2,23,846 crore. That's quite a number for the well-being and health, which was also launched as a new centrally sponsored scheme. We are talking about Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana with an outlay of rupees 64,180 crores over next 6 years, which talks about strengthening the National Centre for Disease Control. Also the outlay, this is the outlay which I already talked about, and this is going to be spread over the next 6 years with the support for health and wellness centres. Now the health and wellness centres will also be will be taken care of in terms of furthering their infrastructure. Moving on to the next slide, wherein we talk about the Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana under in terms of developing capacities of primary, secondary and tertiary care health systems by strengthening the already existing national institutions which are in place, at the same time creating new institutions to cater to detection and also to cure new and emerging diseases. So it looks at expanding integrated health information portal, digital again very important. It looks at establishing critical care hospital blocks as well, basically at your panchayat level, and also it looks at setting up of integrated public health labs as well. Now let's move on to the next slide, wherein we talk about the Ujjwala Yojana. Ujjwala scheme is basically, this time around, it's going to cover 1 crore more beneficiaries. Remember, this was announced by the Finance Minister yesterday, and this Yojana was launched by our Honorable Prime Minister on 1st of May 2016. It's come a long way. It aims at distributing around 5 crore LPG connections to women below poverty line families. The target initially was later revised to providing free gas connection to 8 crore women by March 2020. And in this budget, Finance Minister has announced addition of 1 crore more women will be covered under this scheme. Besides that, 100 more districts under city gas distribution network will be covered. Ujjwala scheme, like I just said, 1 crore women beneficiaries are added to the already the existing corpus, and also independent gas transport system operators will be set up to ensure there is a last mile connectivity and more transparency in the system. Let's now move on to the next slide, wherein we talk about the urban development allocation. This time there has been a lot of focus on the urban development infrastructure allocation as well, with an outlay of rupees 3.05 lakh crore, again spread over the next 5 years. We're talking about a revamped, reform-based, result-linked power distribution sector scheme. This has also been announced in the budget, and most importantly, Jal Jeevan Mission Urban and Urban Swachh Bharat Mission with massive outlays. I talked about Jal Jeevan Mission. Jal Jeevan Mission under a different vertical for urban India, for universal water supply in all these sectors, then 2,270 crore for 42 urban centers which have been identified to tackle air pollution. Once again, reiterating government's stand as far as your climate is concerned. Climate. And 9, also Urban Swachh Bharat Mission with an outlay of 1,41,000 plus crore over 5 years. And this, of course, comes close on the heels of massive success of Swachh Bharat Mission Rural. And now we are looking at bolstering the Urban Swachh Bharat Mission also with this massive outlay. And with that, it's time to take a short break in Midday Prime. On the other side, we have more news and updates, business and much more. Don't go away.
Nine to 5 job, arey 5 to 9 job, bhag dod, all the time job. The roaming wala job, the deadline wala job, or are you living in the market wala job?
जिंदगी में मौके ही मौके हैं। अपनी मर्जी से जॉब चुनिए, अपनी इच्छा अनुसार कमाइए, बन जाइए LIC एजेंट। ये है जॉब से बढ़कर, ये है करियर इंश्योरेंस। अपना बॉस खुद बनिए, बन जाइए LIC एजेंट। अब लाइफ सेट है।
Thanks for staying with us on Midday Prime, and it's time for the news and updates coming in from the world of business. And on Business Prime, my colleague Abhishek joins us with more. Abhishek, good afternoon. Over to you.
Thanks, Sakal. And today the market has welcomed the budget announcements. The Sensex opened up by more than 1,000 points in the morning trade today and soon crossed the 50,000 marks. Sensex and Nifty 50 were trading over 2.5% strong in the afternoon trade, led by buying in banks and financial stocks. Sensex was hovering around 49,800, while the broader index Nifty is maintaining 14,600 level. The rupee has traded 4 paise or almost 0.8% higher at 72.96 against the US dollar at noon, having quoted the range of 72.96 to 73.05 earlier on Tuesday, following a flat start at 73.02 paise against a dollar. Gold prices continue to fall sharply for the second day on the Tuesday after the Union Budget proposed to cut import duties on gold and silver to 7.5% from 12.5%. On MCX, February gold future fell as much as 1% to rupees 48,180. On Monday, gold prices had corrected by 1.2% or rupees 627 per 10 gram. Silver futures on MCX plunged more than 2% to an intraday low of rupees 71,500 per kg. Yesterday, silver prices had surged 6% or rupees 4,238 rupees per kg. This was all from the world of business. Let's get back to Sakal for more updates on other news.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thanks for joining us on Business Prime. And now let's move on and talk about the stories that we're tracking for you in National Prime segment. Up next. February each year is celebrated as World Wetlands Day. The day is dedicated to raising global awareness about the vital role of wetlands for people and planet Earth. The second day of February also marks the date of the adoption of the Convention on Wetlands. The convention was adopted in 1971 in the Iranian city of Ramsar on the shores of Caspian Sea. This year's theme for World Wetlands Day is Wetlands and Water, highlights the importance of wetlands as a source of fresh water and encourages action to restore them and stop their loss. This is especially important as we mark the UN Decades of Ocean Science and Ecosystem Restoration. And on World Wetlands Day 2021, Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change Prakash Javadekar has said that India is one of the few countries to have wetland inventory system. The minister tweeted, and I quote, India is one of the few countries in the world to have wetland inventory system wherein some remote sensing techniques have been used to map the wetlands. We have 42 sites designated as wetlands of international importance, Ramsar sites, unquote. That's a tweet by Union Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar. And World Wetlands Day event is taking place from 1st of February to 3rd, 3 days to mark the celebrations. Union Minister of Jal Shakti Gajendra Singh Shekhawat and Minister of State for Jal Shakti Ratan Lal Kataria today participated in the event. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat took part virtually during the event. Ratan Lal Kataria launched a book with the theme Urban Wetlands Water Bodies Management Guidelines, a toolkit for local stakeholders. In fact, he also unveiled a theme poster. The theme for this year's Wetlands Day is Wetland and Water. World Wetlands Day, as we mentioned, is observed on February 2nd every day, the date on which the convention was adopted in 1971 in Ramsar, Iranian city. Addressing the event, the minister said that till December last year, India had 42 water bodies marked as Ramsar sites, which are important for ecosystem survival. He added that this number is highest among South Asian nations.
रामसर प्रोटोकॉल के अनुरूप जिन तालाबों को जिनका संरक्षण इकोसिस्टम सर्वाइवल के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण माना जाए एवं उनका संरक्षण वैश्विक धरोहर के रूप में किया जाना आवश्यक हो, रामसर साइट्स के रूप में उन्हें चिन्हित किया जाता है। उस सूची में भारत के दिसंबर 2020 तक 42 ऐसे तालाब थे जो रामसर साइट्स के रूप में चिन्हित थे और दक्षिण एशिया में ये संख्या की दृष्टि से यदि देखा जाए तो भारत में सर्वाधिक है।
Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh today inaugurated Hindustan Aeronautics Limited's Tejas light combat aircraft's second production line in Bengaluru. Raksha Mantri said the Tejas LAC's second production line will strengthen HAL, Indian Air Force and Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign in defence sector. Terming the deal as the biggest indigenous defence procurement, the minister added that it will give new heights to the Indian aerospace sector.
हिंदुस्तान एरोनॉटिक लिमिटेड यानी HAL, इंडियन एयरफोर्स और साथ ही साथ आत्मनिर्भर भारत का जो हमारा ये कैंपेन है, इन तीनों को यह ताकत देगा, तीनों को यह मजबूती देगा। कोविड की इतनी महामारी के बावजूद 48,000 करोड़ का ऑर्डर आर्म्ड फोर्सेस की तरफ से आपको ये मिल गया है और मैं कह सकता हूं कि इंडिजिनस डिफेंस प्रोक्योरमेंट के इतिहास में यह सबसे बड़ा प्रोक्योरमेंट है। यदि मैं इसे कहूं कि यह हिस्टोरिकल डील है तो यह कहना भी एग्जैगरेशन नहीं होगा। हिस्टोरिकल डील है जो इंडियन एरोस्पेस सेक्टर को एक नई हाइट देगी, यह भी हमारा विश्वास है।
Raksha Mantri also said that the government is committed to make India self-reliant in the field of defence technology and manufacturing. He exuded confidence that in the next 3 to 4 years, India will achieve the target of rupees 1.75 lakh crores in the field of defence manufacturing.
जो भी बनाना होगा डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स, प्लेटफॉर्म्स, वेपन्स, कोशिश हमारी यह है कि हम खुद बनाएंगे और सीमा और अपने स्वाभिमान की दोनों की सुरक्षा भी करेंगे। एक लाभ और हुआ है आज के इस उद्घाटन से, आत्मनिर्भर भारत का हमारा यह संकल्प भी पूरा हुआ है और दोनों टेक्नोलॉजिकल और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर में हम आत्मनिर्भर बनना चाहते हैं। यह संदेश केवल भारत की सीमा तक ही नहीं रहेगा बल्कि दुनिया के दूसरे देशों तक यह संदेश चला जाएगा कि भारत को आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाने में गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बहुत ही गंभीर है। यह संदेश सारी दुनिया को जाएगा।
Rajnath Singh said the new Tejas line will generate more employment opportunities in the country.
नए तेजस प्लांट के कारण एम्प्लॉयमेंट के डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली अपॉर्चुनिटीज इससे जनरेट होंगी। ये बट नेचुरल है। बहुत सारे लोगों को काम मिलेगा, ऐसा मेरा विश्वास है। और मेरी जानकारी में यह भी आया है कि आप सबने सिस्टम इंटीग्रेटेड मॉडल को जो अपनाया है उसके तहत 650 डिजाइन और प्रोडक्शन एजेंसीज भी आपके साथ जुड़ रही हैं। भारत दुनिया का अकेला देश है जिसने दुनिया के सारे देशों को पीछे छोड़कर आगे बढ़ रहा है और उसकी प्रोजेक्टेड ग्रोथ डबल डिजिट में है, यानी अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 11.5 होगी। यह इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड ने कहा है।
So the indigenously designed 4.5 generation light combat aircraft Tejas is the lightest and smallest fly-by-wire multi-role combat aircraft. The inauguration of the second plant for LCA will enable HAL to produce 16 aircrafts annually. Raksha Mantri will be attending Aero India 2021 show that will be held from 3rd to 5th of February. And the 13th edition of Aero India show will start from tomorrow. The biennial air show and exhibition will be held at Yelahanka Air Force Station in Bengaluru. Now, this show is hosted by the government of Karnataka and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. The Aero India show provides a platform for aerospace companies to showcase their products and services, and it is the first global air show organized in the COVID-19 era. The rehearsal, in fact, was held today, where spectacular formations that you see on your screens were showcased.
And air-to-ground weaponry along with the modern avionics is...
And now it's time to take a look at what's making news across the globe in World Prime. So in news coming in from Myanmar, hundreds of members of Myanmar's parliament remain confined inside their government housing in the country's capital on Tuesday, a day after the military staged a coup and detained senior politicians, including Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi. The coup has been roundly condemned internationally. UN Security Council has called an emergency meeting today to decide on action it may want to take against the military junta of Myanmar. The United States also has reacted. It has threatened to reimpose sanctions against Myanmar. US President Joe Biden has said that it will necessitate an immediate review of the US sanction laws, followed by appropriate action. President Biden has called the developments in Myanmar a direct assault on the country's transition to democracy and the rule of law. India, meanwhile, has expressed deep concern over the military coup and detention of its top political leaders. India says the rule of law and the democratic process must be upheld in the country. Meanwhile, India has issued an advisory to Indian citizens in Myanmar to avoid unnecessary travel to Myanmar and take due precautions in the wake of recent developments. Also, Air India flight to Yangon, New Delhi route has also been rescheduled. Earlier, the flight was to depart from Yangon for New Delhi on 4th of February. Now, it has been rescheduled to 11th of February. And to discuss these latest developments in Myanmar, we are joined by G. Parthasarthi, former ambassador of India to Myanmar, and my colleague Abhishek Jha joining us from the newsroom. Sir, thank you so much, Parthasarthi ji, for joining us on Midday Prime. Welcome to the show. And before we start talking about the optics of it, let's quickly take an update, the latest on the developments there. Abhishek, quick 2 fire points. First, India's response. There is an advisory in place in rescheduling of flights, and the position as of now that the India has taken on the developments there. More on that, please.
Okay, so Sakal, to be fair, India has been quite engaged with the current dispensation, like the last dispensation that we can say Aung San Suu Kyi and the military dispensation. Even our foreign secretary and army chief had also traveled to the country just a couple of months ago. Myanmar's the head of military junta currently, he had traveled 3 years back to India. In the last 3-4 years, we have seen a progressive balance of approach from Indian side towards Myanmar's governance. To be fair, there was we are saying that Aung San Suu Kyi is once again in the background. She has been jailed, she has been detained. But to be fair, she was never at the helm of power, because most of the strategic dispensation, financial dispensation and the executive powers was still with the army. But however, the world was relaxed in a way that now maybe in due course of time, more democratic voices will have a strong voice in Myanmar's government, and gradually Myanmar will fully come to the terms with the proper democratic setup of governance. However, this has not happened just when people and the globe, other countries were looking forward to Myanmar being progressively transformed from a military rule state to a democratically elected government.
Okay.
This has again
taken place. Yes. Sorry, Abhishek, I'm just interrupting you. I'm going to come to you in a bit. Parthasarthi ji, you've heard my colleague, the latest on India's stance. But I want to ask you, before we come to the India point, is military junta in Myanmar looking at some serious imposition of sanctions as threatened allegedly by Joe Biden, and UN also taking a strong cognizance of it, United Nations Security Council?
Well, the United Nations Security Council resolution against Myanmar will not pass. It will be opposed by both China and Russia, with whom Myanmar has good relations, and they wouldn't see any reason for imposition of these sanctions. So these are but these are pro forma actions the West must take, because it's a question of faith in democracy. As far as India is concerned, I think your colleague is aptly noted that we keep out of this confrontation while supporting the democratic process, in the sense that Myanmar has almost always been ruled by the military.
Yes.
Yes, decades in fact. Secondly, the fact is that Aung San Suu Kyi's father was General Aung San, and their struggle for independence paralleled ours. In fact, there was a good relationship between Netaji and her father. So, as I see it, these people will ride the sanctions, but the fact of the matter is you have a military rule in Thailand also. Why do the Americans do nothing about that? Here, because it's been normally a practice. From our side, I must tell you this, that for us, good relations with Myanmar are vital.
Okay.
We share a 1,640-kilometer border. All our northeastern insurgent groups, separatist groups, used to take shelter in Myanmar and then go into China. So China became a part of our problems of the northeast. Therefore, when the Myanmar government established more control over the northeast, over their eastern borders, it suited us fine. We have helped them with their Arakan rebels, and they have been pretty tough in seeing that our sort of insurgents who separatists.
So does it imply that the government, Indian government, The MEA, we will continue with our engagements with the military junta there, though we are saying that India stands for the smooth transition, democratic transition of power. But do you really see democracy prevailing there on ground?
You see, democracy is not a mantra to be sort of brought forward every month. It is going to be a process. It has always been a process in Myanmar. And therefore, we will continue our normal dealings. But please believe me that we take up quite often the issue of democracy. We don't make a public noise about it. We tell them we are a friendly country. But it will do your interests and your people's interests good to have a representative government. So it will at best emerge, I think, to the style of Pakistan, where the de facto rulers remain the military and wield power, and the others join in. But I must tell you one thing, that Myanmar is getting increasingly tired of its separatist groups going into different parts of China.
Okay.
Things like the vast state army which operate across the border with China, being armed, trained and equipped like a professional army by the Chinese. But they have to continue this good relationship. And there is no opening to the West because the West does not wants to lecture to them.
Oh,
West never lectures to Thailand.
Yes, yes. But what's the sense you're getting now, sir? Because there is a widespread condemnation coming across the globe for Myanmar. And talking about Aung San Suu Kyi's global outreach, whether it is a popularity or whatever she is symbolic of, she's being detained. And they're calling these elections fraud and rigged. Do you think this is going to put any sort of pressure on the military junta in Myanmar? Because at the end of the day, the big brother US is not very happy about what's happening there.
Former President Trump also called the American elections a fraud.
Okay.
The elections have been fair, free and fair. But the fact of the matter is the army has constitutionally got 25% of the seats in parliament. So they do exercise a certain measure of political authority. Now that can only be eroded over time. But the Myanmar is a country which can't manage without the army because of insurgent groups operating from Thailand, the vast state army, other groups operating from China, and the only place where it has been stopped effectively is India. We have taken on their insurgents like they have helped us out. So, much as we would like democracy, we also have to deal with whoever is in power. It's a country with, and as we cannot allow the Bay of Bengal to go into the hands of the wrong navies.
Yes, sir. Right, sir. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, G. Parthasarathi ji, former ambassador to Myanmar. Very honored to have you joining us on the show on this story. And Abhishek, before I wrap up this story very quickly, what more are you hearing? What more are you hearing? As of now, Indian government's standpoint seems to be that they are monitoring the situation, wait and watch policy. But at the same time, there is an advisory in place issued. Advisory has been issued. The flights have been rescheduled. Abhishek.
Around the Myanmar and how the military junta is going to act and react over the law and order situation and other aspects of the day-to-day life. So any Indian who wants to travel to Myanmar should avoid, as of the advisory of Ministry of External Affairs, and unless until it's very important, they should avoid this traveling to Myanmar.
All right, we'll leave it there, Abhishek. Thank you so much for joining us with those quick updates. Thanks for joining, Abhishek. And now let's talk about Vaccine Maitri. The latest updates coming in there. The Vaccine Maitri exercise, vaccine consignments have reached Dubai as well. Earlier consignments of Made in India vaccines have reached Algeria and South Africa. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa confirmed receiving first consignments of COVID-19 vaccines from the Serum Institute in India, the world's largest vaccine producer. Cyril Ramaphosa says that with the arrival of the consignment, South Africa will launch a mass vaccination campaign. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar tweeted and confirmed the arrival of the consignment in South Africa's Johannesburg. The minister also confirmed the arrival in Algeria and tweeted that a trusted partnership stands renewed. Under the Vaccine Maitri program, India has already sent COVID-19 vaccines to many countries such as Bhutan, Bahrain, Maldives, Bangladesh, Brazil, Nepal, Myanmar and Seychelles, among others, several others. Meanwhile, the government of Bangladesh has signed an agreement with the World Bank for the upgradation of rural roads and connectivity in the western region. The project is expected to benefit over 20 million people in the western region of Bangladesh. This project will help upgrade 48-kilometer two-lane Jashore-Jinadia road to a modern 4-lane highway. It will also help improve 600 kilometers of connecting rural roads and build or develop new rural markets. The project aims to finance installation of fiber optic cables along the highway to ensure fast and reliable internet services. World Bank Country Director for Bangladesh and Bhutan, Mercy Thembon, says that better connectivity and logistics will help farmers reach new and existing markets quickly and at less cost. The project is the first of the multi-phased $1.4 billion 10-year program to upgrade the existing 110-kilometer two-lane highway Bomra, Satkhira, Navaron and Jashore-Jinadia lines. In the current phase, the project will be implemented in 4 districts of Jashore, Jinadia, Magura and Chaudanga. And now let's take a look at the COVID-19 pandemic numbers from across the world. So as of now, more than 10 crore 38 lakh coronavirus cases have been reported worldwide. The global death toll due to the coronavirus has crossed 22 lakh 46,000 and over 7 crore 56 lakh people have recovered from the virus globally. The United States continues to remain the worst hit country by the pandemic and so far has reported over 2 crore 68 lakh cases of the virus, with the death toll surging past 4 lakh 53,000. Brazil follows United States in terms of death toll with 2 lakh 25,000 deaths reported. With the COVID-19 pandemic having a strong grip on Europe, France, it has put in place stricter controls over Swiss borders yesterday, including its border with Switzerland. All arrivals into France from outside the European Union are banned except for essential travel, and all visitors from EU nations must show a negative COVID-19 test except cross-border workers and truckers. Earlier, French government's top scientific advisor had said that the country might need to move towards a third lockdown in lieu of the circulation of the new variants of the virus. Now, as of now, France has over 32 lakh 1,000 COVID-19 cases, with the death toll surging past 76,000. And on Midday Prime, another short break. Stay with us.
आइसक्रीम खाएगी? आइसक्रीम? ये है डबल आनंद। पहला आनंद पॉलिसी टर्म के अंत पर मैच्योरिटी क्लेम का पूरा भुगतान, और दूसरा आपके अपनों के लिए लाइफ कवर की पूरी रकम बिना किसी प्रीमियम के। LIC न्यू जीवन आनंद, आनंद ही आनंद।
And on Midday Prime, time for stories coming in from the world of sports. And on Sports Prime, my colleague Suchitra joins us with more. Suchitra.
Thank you, Sakal. Let's start with some news related to cricket. All the members of India and England cricket team completed their quarantine and cleared all the tests for coronavirus as both teams prepare for the first test beginning in Chennai from February 5. All members also returned negative results for the 3 coronavirus tests that they had undergone during their quarantine period. The first 2 tests of the 4-match series will be played at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in the Tamil Nadu capital. The remaining 2 tests will be played in Ahmedabad's Motera ground, which will also host the 5-match T20I series, before teams move to Pune for 3 ODIs. India come into the series on the back of a test series win in Australia. England too are in good form, having swept the 2-match series in Sri Lanka. The 4-match series is crucial for both teams, with a spot in the World Test Championship final up for grabs. The second India-England test in Chennai will not be played behind closed doors, as the BCCI has informally given permission to the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association to open its gates for spectators up to a 50% capacity. 3 stands of the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium will likely be open to public pending Tamil Nadu government clearance for the second test starting February 13th. The ticket details and standard operating procedure for crowds will be released when formal approval arrives. Former Australian great Ian Chappell says that the India-England series will come down to a battle of the top orders. He also said that the upcoming India versus England Test series has the potential to be an enticing contest similar in intensity to the one recently completed in Australia. Chappell said India will start as favourites after victory over Australia, overcoming all obstacles. Serena Williams says she may not have been able to play in the Australian Open had it not been pushed back by 3 weeks. The first Grand Slam of the year was delayed to allow players to quarantine. Williams, chasing a record equaling 24th major singles title next week, said she needed the extra time to fully recover from an Achilles injury sustained at the US Open in September. Liverpool have completed a loan deal for Schalke's central defender Ozan Kabak. The 20-year-old joins the Reds until the end of this season, with the club also having signed Ben Davies. Defender Davies has signed a long-term deal at Anfield. Liverpool have an option to buy Kabak with add-on clauses at the end of the season, but do not need to activate it until June. For now, they will pay a loan fee with the potential for an extra fee based on games played and how they fare in the Champions League. The Reds are missing experienced centre-backs with Joel Matip out of the rest of the season and Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez out with long-term injuries. Liverpool centre-back Joel Matip will miss the rest of the season with an ankle ligament injury. The former Cameroon international suffered the problem during the 3-1 win over Tottenham last Thursday. Matip was injured in a challenge with Tottenham striker Son Heung-min. He injured his ankle and played the game on and now is out of the season. So those were some sports updates. Back to you, Sakal.
Thank you so much, Suchitra, for joining us on Sports Prime. And now let's move on and talk about Live Prime segment. This is a segment where we bring to you the stories from the world of art, sports and culture and much more. And before we end this Midday Prime segment today, we leave you with some heartwarming visuals from Washington, D.C.'s National Zoo. These are giant pandas at the zoo. They were seen having a very happy time as they slipped, tumbled and rolled in the snow. Female panda Mi Xiang and male panda Tian Tian enjoyed the first snowstorm of the season. The zoo's panda camera caught the panda pair sliding down hills and raising their arms in excitement, while the pair's cub, 5-month-old Xiao Qiqi, briefly braved the snow, giving the fluffy white precipitation a very chilly reception. Amazing visuals from Washington, D.C.'s zoo. So that's a happy panda family enjoying sub-zero temperatures there. And with those happy visuals, it's time to say goodbye on Midday Prime. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. On the other side, my colleague Arindra joins you with news in Hindi. Stay with us. Namaskar.